Hello and welcome. We are privileged to be joined by one of Britain's best known parliamentarians and the longest serving Secretary of State for Trade and Industry in Britain. Also the Cabinet Minister for Women in 2001 and Secretary of State for Health 2005 to 7. I'm privileged once again to be joined by Right Honourable Patricia Hewitt in New Delhi. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us. And first question as we embark on our chat today, what can you generally tell us about Indo-UK relations and what needs to be done at this point of time?
Well, we know that there are pretty big economic challenges in both countries, but I think we need to look beyond, the immediate difficulties, which are political as well as economic, and look longer term, because of course this is a time of, real uncertainty in the global economy, especially of course in the whole of the European Union. But if we look somewhat longer term, then I think we can see this is really the best time and the most important time for British and Indian companies to be connecting with each other and to be connecting with each other's consumers. Here is Britain, part of the largest single market in the world, in Europe. Here is India, one of the fastest growing, still today, one of the fastest growing and most exciting economies in the world. So particularly now at a time of genuine economic difficulty, I think it's all the more important to promote those strong business and economic ties.
Will you throw some light on how you see the current government under David Cameron viewing investment into India and the relationship as a whole?
I think what's been very striking in Britain since the crash of 2008 and the slowdown since then and the financial crisis is the emphasis which Prime Minister David Cameron and the coalition government have been putting on rebalancing the economy. And indeed there's no political disagreement about that in the United Kingdom. It's something really that all political leaders would agree upon, that Britain became perhaps over-dependent on financial services. And even though that remains a great strength for the UK in the global economy, we need to up our game, if you like, and really put the spotlight on the many strengths we've got in high technology, manufacturing and engineering, in the creative industries, in healthcare and life sciences and other sectors. We need to rebalance the economy towards those sectors, and we need to rebalance it towards exports and even greater linkages with the rest of the world. And that's, if you like, the background to the very welcome emphasis which Prime Minister David Cameron has put on the relationship between Britain and India, and the fact that he made his first overseas visit as the new Prime Minister here in India, I think is very significant. And of course he was back here in February with the largest ever business delegation that a Prime Minister had taken abroad.
What can be done to make investing easier, both from a policy point of view as well as procedural issues that perhaps need to be looked at either ways, from India investing into the UK or the UK investing into India?
I think there's still a lot more that could be done. For instance, as India continues to open up in banking and in insurance, in FDI and other sectors, I've no doubt at all we will see even greater FDI coming from the United Kingdom into India. Now there's a lot coming already, and of course we need to remember that banks like Standard Chartered, HSBC, great British banks, are very large already and growing in India. The recent relaxation of limits on FDI in retail, that's attracting significant interest. Indeed, a UK, a Yorkshire-based shoe manufacturer is the first to take advantage of the lifting of limits for single brand FDI into India. So a lot already happening in there. We've seen, of course, BP and Shell making huge investments here. But again, as India's own pace of reform picks up again, I think we'll see that hugely benefit the Indian economy, above all benefit Indians, and help millions more come out of poverty and into better standards of living.
Indian companies have had some success in the UK, particularly the groups like Tata. How do you see that developing, and what are the kind of cross-border issues that you think need more focus at this point of time?
We're absolutely delighted in Britain that we now have Tata as Britain's largest manufacturing employer, with Jaguar Land Rover, with Tata Chorus Steel, with Tetley and so on. And of course that is just the most visible part of India's very large FDI into Britain. So with Britain being the single largest destination for Indian FDI into the whole of Europe, all of us in Britain want to keep it that way. So I think for the government continuing on their path of tax simplification but also reducing corporate tax rates, that helps to keep Britain as an attractive place for inward investment. More infrastructure investment is needed in Britain, just as it is in India. Again, an area that government is paying attention to, but considerably more investment, both domestic and foreign, is needed there. Again, both because it will propel jobs and growth in Britain, but also because it continues to make the country more attractive for inward investors to grow their businesses and to use as a base for growing into the whole of the European Union.
Would you have a specific agenda for the British business group or overall Indo-British relations at this point of time, and the kind of areas that could be highlighted or focused on in coming months?
For me, the single most pressing issue is the creation of a pan-India network of UK-India business centres. And I'm delighted to say that over the next few months, UK-India Business Council, which of course I chair, is going to be expanding very significantly in India. And indeed, we hope at about the same time as the BBG summit in Mumbai, we'll be opening the first of the UK-India business centres in Gurgaon, with a spoke in Connaught Place in New Delhi. And that's got the full backing of the British business groups here in India, so that we've got a partnership of the UK-India Business Council, the BBGs, and the UK government and UK Trade and Investment, all working together to ensure that as British businesses, especially SMEs, think about entering the Indian market, or as they expand what they're already doing in India, they will find it easier to get the support and information from a whole network of business people here in India, and they will have a home away from home in the business centre itself. So that's a very important and practical piece of work. Around that, we will be enlarging the work we already do based out of the United Kingdom in several priority sectors, including, of course, advanced engineering and manufacturing, the whole retail and logistics sector, skills, vocational skills, as well as education more broadly, healthcare and life sciences, and so on. So in all of those sectors that are so critical to the relationship, we'll be building even larger sector-based policy forums where Indian and British business leaders from large and small companies can come together, share intelligence, do business together, but also ensure that there's an even stronger and more effective business voice influencing the government-to-government dialogue. So I very much hope that in the months and weeks running up to the BBG summit, we'll be able to get even more business people from all those important sectors involved in this ongoing work.
Ms. Hewitt, could you tell us what is the one thing that you would be looking forward to or looking out for at the summit?
Oh, there's going to be so much going on at the summit, it's very hard to pick out any one thing. And for me, what's always, I think, the greatest pleasure is not just a chance to see many old friends, but also a chance to meet new friends and new companies. And I'm just always inspired by the stories of innovation that I hear, both from Indian companies and from British companies. And I love the fact that quite often my colleagues and I in the UK-India Business Council and in UKTI can help introduce companies to each other, help them find opportunities, help them grow. And that's got to be good for jobs and people's living standards here in India and in Britain.
Right, and you've been a friend of India, so to speak, for many, many years now. Could you tell us the one thing that you love about India?
I love India. I've loved India for years, and it's the energy, it's the warmth, it's the colour of the whole country and the people. And that's why I always say to business colleagues in Britain who haven't yet been here, for heaven's sake, come now. Don't leave it any later. Come here, fall in love with the country, but build the relationships. Take the time you need to build relationships with people, and out of that will come business success.
Right, Ms. Hewitt. Thank you very much for speaking with us.